Hi, everyone. Welcome to another snack break. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've got your snack ready. Today, I'm having Planters unsalted dry roasted peanuts, good for heart health. Hope you've got something healthy. Today, we're going to talk about building ideal use cases for CDP that get results. But first, let's take a poll. All right, what is the best type of cookie? Chocolate chip, browser-based, oatmeal raisin, or snickerdoodle? When we get to the end, we'll see the results. We'll give you another 30 seconds to make your selection. I know it's a very difficult choice. And then we'll jump into today's content. All right, let's go. So we are going to talk about building ideal use cases. But first, let's start with sort of a definition of how we at Lytics like to think about use cases. I'm going to expand my screen a little bit. So we always begin with a business case, which is sort of the overall of what we're trying to accomplish, which leads to use cases or several use cases, which leads to key strategies, which lead to tactics. So let's break these down a little bit. So when we are talking to our customers and our prospects about business cases, we listen for terms like global realignment, a new go-to-market, a strategic initiative, or a vision from our CMO to help us recognize that what we're talking about at its core is a business case. A perfect example of a business case is unify our data to achieve higher level CLTV, or customer lifetime value, across marketing, sales, and service by automating segmentation using machine learning. And when we think about a use case, we often listen for terms like we have a new product or a new program or a new project that we're launching, which is often in support of an overarching business initiative. And so for those, we're thinking create content collections in newsletters that drive increased engagement based upon affinity. That would be a perfect use case for driving toward a new overall business case. And when we think about strategies, when we hear our customers talk about a new approach or a new strategy, those are the things that we identify as those techniques that are going to support a key use case. And they might sound something like utilize lookalike modeling to offer personalized content to new subscribers, for instance. And then there are the tactics that support those strategies, things like efficiency, optimization, work streams. Those are the things that are everyday things that we're doing that help those strategies move along and be successful. So things like use on-site behavioral data to increase new subscriber content affinity. So we're talking about use cases, but you can see it's a core component of several motions. So our business case is why we need a CDP. Our use case is what we'll do with our CDP. Strategy is the key motions of our use case or use cases. And tactics are the day-to-day execution. So when we are working with our customers, we listen for these types of work streams, and we try to help them understand how they fit into the business case, use case, strategy, and tactics. But again, today, we're talking about use cases. So now that we have an understanding of where the use case sort of fits in, let's talk about how we help our customers structure use cases. So this is our use case worksheet that we use with all of our customers. This is both existing customers, new prospects who are looking to make an investment in CDP. We use it to help them better define the opportunity ahead of them. I think we can all agree that there are lots of different things that you can do with a CDP. There are lots of different value propositions. So helping our customers clearly define what they're trying to execute against is core to our initial engagement in building a relationship. So what's the anatomy here? So we like to have a clear and concise name. I was speaking with a colleague earlier about trying to avoid jargon in certain scenarios like this. So increased newsletter engagement, whether I'm in marketing, sales, service, IT, I'm going to understand what that means. So it's very important that at this phase of developing the use case, we're using language that is digestible by all parts of our organization. And then we want to have a primary hypothesis, so a thing that we want to solve for. So create content collections and newsletters to drive engagement. That's what we're here to solve for. It should be a clearly defined business objective or hypothesis, a question that we want to find the answer to. So then we want to list 2 to 3 key strategies, right? So we talked about business case, use case, and use cases are supported by strategies. So here in this worksheet, we try to define those strategies. So we want to list 2 to 3 key strategies that we're going to focus on. And then for each strategy, list the supporting tactics and at least 1 KPI for each. Now, the next important thing to do is, as we think about this use case, we want to think about heuristically at this phase, the business impact. So what type of an impact is this use case going to have on our business? And then we want to think about technical complexity, like how difficult will it be for us to execute this use case? The cost to implement the use case? And of course, how long is it going to take us to execute this use case? So thinking about these at this phase of development helps us later prioritize which use cases we want to focus on first. And then, of course, because many of us are marketers, we want to make sure that there's always a nice supporting tagline that helps us define what we're going to do, deliver the right content to the right customer at the right time. So this is page 1 of our use case worksheet. Our customers use this to help define what they're trying to execute in many different capacities, again, for customers and prospects alike. We take a look at page 2. This is more of a data sheet. So now that we've defined what we're actually trying to accomplish, this page helps us list out all of the dependencies that are going to help us be more successful if they're addressed. So we start with business or legal requirements, right? Will we need new consents? Are there updates to our T's and C's, things that we'll have to do in order to be successful with this use case? Are there technical requirements that we need to care for, like platform and integration considerations? What in our toolbox will be impacted? Like, do we have templates that we're already using that we'll be able to leverage toward this use case? Are there banners where we want to track user behavior in support of having a more holistic view of our customer? We should track those things here. There's activation channels. So what are our desired channels of activation? Are all the people or teams that control those channels involved in this conversation? And then tracking requirements, the data sources that will support the KPI. So we talked about the KPI that would be important for the use case on the previous page. On this page, what are the data sources that are going to allow us to track those KPI? And with respect to that, what are the behavior and events that we want to track in order to make sure our measurement strategy is sound? Are we being successful? And then data sources. So what are the data sources that we need to pull from in order to get the data that we need to execute this use case? And last, workforce. So what teams actually need to be involved to help us execute this case? Our design team, technical or IT, or marketing. We should make sure that we have them all at the table. So by cataloging those organizations at this phase, that helps us make sure that we're bringing them to the table. And then last but not least, we want to reiterate the high-level use case goals, just to make sure that we understand what we're trying to accomplish. So this is the use case template that we tend to work through with customers to help them define their opportunities. Many customers will even take the use case template themselves, fill them out, and bring them back to us for consultation. So let's say we've gathered a list of 5 or 6 use cases that we think are really valuable. What do we want to do with those next? We want to take them and put them on a path to value mapping. So what we've done here is we have this slide where we list out all the use cases that we've already defined. We talked on that first page heuristically about whether this was high value, whether it was difficult. So we can then use this opportunity to look at our use cases in the context of which are low-hanging fruit with high value, which are going to be differentiators but more difficult lift to execute. Which ones, frankly, are things that we need to do, but the value isn't that low. So maybe we want to prioritize them later. Most of our customers come in with an all-at-once approach. They're excited about their CDP investment. They want to get going, so they want to do everything. Looking at things in this manner helps them understand, well, here are a couple things that we want to do first that are going to help the rest of the organization understand the value of the investment that we made, and that gives us time to stage and plan for more difficult use cases. And I think there was a build here that I didn't actually build, so we'll build it now. So list your identified use cases, ordered by easiest to implement and highest value, as well as heavier lift use cases that offer differentiation. So this is how we tend to think about developing use cases and prioritizing use cases. So what do we do from here? So 1, know your business case. Before you get started in defining your use cases, it's important to understand within your organization from top to bottom, what is the business case, or what are the business cases you're solving for, both marketing use cases and technical use cases alike. Next, define those key use cases that support the business case or cases. Focus on strategic execution, goals and KPI. Evaluate business impact, complexity, and effort to implement. And then rank your use cases by path value, low high to high low. And of course, use the use case worksheet, which we're happy to share with anybody who wants it. So with that, let's now take a look at our poll results and see how we panned out. Chocolate chip, no surprise there. No surprise there. I feel like that browser base is going to continue to go down with some of the things I've heard about in the industry. All right. So now let's see if we have some questions. I'm going to click on our Q&A tab. Okay, so first question, who should I involve in the development of our use cases? So that's a great question. So if you think back to the use case worksheet, one of the areas was where we were defining, is marketing involved? Is our design team involved? Does IT need to be involved in this conversation? So really, in the development of the use case, I would go as broad as possible. Make sure you've got representation from all teams that could potentially be impacted by this new use case. And let them decide how much they want to participate. But having them there at the table, helping you define dependencies and opportunities is going to be crucial to making sure you're building a holistic use case that can be successful. All right, one more question. Let's see. If we're new to CDP, how many use cases should we be thinking about? That's a really great question. Most of our customers fall in the range of having 2 to 3 key use cases in support of a business case that they want to focus on. We have customers that come with more than that. We tend to help them prioritize the few that make the most sense to start with. And with customers who come with 1 use case, often we point out to them that it's actually a business case and we should help them develop some use cases that support it. So 2 to 3 is a good starting number for most customers making a CDP investment. All right. Last use case, or last question, sorry. Why can't you just tell us what the right use cases are? That's a great question. We can tell you what the right use cases are. If you're an existing Lytics customer, reach out to your account manager, and they can help you work through what the use cases you should be focused on by your business objectives, vertical, and your experience so far in CDP, much from a maturity perspective. And if you're considering Lytics, just go to lytics.com, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to have a use case workshop discussion with you and your teams. So there you have it. Thank you for joining us for another snack break. I'm going to go eat my peanuts. Appreciate the time.